So let's just put it into perspective. The crime is asking the question. Nothing needs to be received. The asking of the question is the crime. It is a high crime. It is most certainly a misdemeanor. And it merits impeachment. Full stop. Dyze in your house. Exclusively on East Coast Radio. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are that of my own and are not of my employer.
Nobody likes me. Nobody likes me. But that's okay, cause I don't like y'all anyway. And I don't like y'all anyway.
We have until November of 2020 to get our act together as a country, as a nation, to correct this injustice. And the biggest injustice in the world was allowing a foreign power to install a criminal into the White House and turn an administration into a fascist crime syndicate. That must be corrected. And we only have there's only one more election we have to correct it, or this whole thing is over.
If you don't know what Staten Island is, it's like New York's abortion that lived.
I never met any of the founding fathers, but I'm sure if they were listening to East Coast Radio right now and brand new episodes of Dyze in Your House, they would agree with the sentiment. And you could follow us on Twitter at East Coast Radio. Get us on Patreon at East Coast Radio. Vote. Blue Wave 2020. Let's make it happen. East Coast Radio for the least heard voices. Every weekend. We here on East Coast Radio are trying to fight the rising tide of fascism.
The noun fascism is usually defined as a governmental system led by a dictator having complete power, forcibly suppressing opposition and criticism, regimenting all industry, commerce, etc., and emphasizing an aggressive nationalism and often racism.
Yeah, we don't want any of that in America. So we gotta stop it. We gotta put out the fire now. Staten Island was no joke. As liberals, not even as liberals, as Americans, as patriots, as people that like democracy. The only thing we can do right now to fix our country is use our weapons. And our weapons are our voices, our handmade signs, and social media. Get the message out there. Voting. Voting is key. Elections have consequences.
If you don't know what Staten Island is, it's like New York's abortion that lived.
Representing Staten Island. Staten Island was no joke.
Hey, yo. Who's in the house? Dyze in your house. What is the word, peeps? What goes on? It is the weekend. We are back here on East Coast Radio with another action-packed edition of Dyze in your house. You might ask yourself what this is you stumbled upon. What is this madness I'm listening to? Well, I'll explain it to you. This is a vehicle we use to keep people informed on the importance of voting. Because elections have consequences, and we're going through it right now. We are going through all those consequences that we are facing from thinking that voting isn't important. America has a lot of problems. A lot. Tons. Probably won't fix it during this election cycle. But one problem we have that we could make huge steps into fixing is our voting problem in America. Because we have a country that thinks, my vote doesn't count. Free and fair elections, I don't really care about that. And that makes me even more mad than if you were Republican. Well, probably not, but listen, man, we had a hostile foreign power install a fascist crime syndicate into 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Repeat that. A hostile foreign power installed a fascist crime syndicate into 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And they are currently running roughshod on the rule of law in this country. And you have to ask yourself, are you going to let that be okay? Or are you going to say, no, this is my country, not theirs. Not people that have 10 years left to live. Not old white men who have had their way for too long in life. It's over. It's clipped for that. It's our time. Young people, millennials, Gen Z, women, people of color, people that want to reject this fascism that is being served to America as if it's, something we want. We don't. Hey Google, what is fascism?
According to Wikipedia, fascism is a form of far-right-wing, authoritarian ultranationalism characterized by dictatorial power, forcible suppression of opposition, and strong regimentation of society and of the economy, which came to prominence in early 20th century Europe.
Yeah, we don't want any of that. That was not a list of American values. And day by day, more and more happens by the day that makes you realize that this isn't just an idiot. That this is actually a dangerous person, because stupidity is almost more dangerous than, being educated. So let's circle back. So, and by the way, all the views and opinions expressed on my podcast are that of my own and not that of my employer. I had a long week at work. I had a good week at work. Next week's going to be another good week at work. They're all good weeks at work. But work and my podcast are separate entities, and the views and opinions expressed on my podcast are that of my own and not that of my employer. So just making sure we get that in there before I start, talking about things. So I got notes here because there's a lot. There's a lot to cover. So I want to try to keep it in a perspective that we can understand. And what I did was I listened to a lot of what Rachel Maddow was saying this week. So, and she was on Colbert and did a couple of appearances because she's got the new book Blowout. So when she was on these little appearances, she had a little bit of time to explain what was happening. So we go from there. But man, November 3rd, 2020, we're going to vote. We're going to vote blue to save America. Vote blue to end this nightmare. We all hope Bernie Sanders is okay. He just left the hospital. He's good. He'll be back on the trail. He'll get some sympathy points in the polls. He'll get a sympathy jump. That happens. That's a real thing. So we got the top three: Biden, Warren, Bernie. This isn't like, if you can't be a Democrat right now. You can't be, if you're somebody that likes America, if you're like somebody that considers yourself a patriot, if you enjoy living here, and you enjoy this prosperous nation, people like Trump are the opposite of good for you. So that, having somebody like that in power is almost like we never fought the war, we never left the British, and we have an emperor. It's not, this guy behaves as if he is a king. And that can't be a thing. Bars. It can't. And the checks and balances are real. Checks and balances exist in government. They're not just something we learn in 8th grade social studies. They're not. And I remember, was it 8th grade or 6th grade? You know what? 6th, 7th, and 8th, I think that was all American history. Anyway, checks and balances is not just something that exists in textbooks. They're real things, and they help governments like America stay being, like America. Strong and, the, I'm air quoting, greatest country in the world. This is 8th grade social studies stuff. You didn't need to be a Harvard law scholar or whatever to figure out that there are checks and balances. And eventually, if you do enough stuff, that is, enough stupid, you will get removed, you will get impeached, you will be investigated, you will be impeached, and you will be removed. Let's talk about Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton cheated on his wife in the Oval Office. They impeached his ass for that. Lindsey Graham, during the impeachment hearings, I don't know, he was talking, and he said, a president doesn't even need to commit a crime to be impeached. It's the appearance that impropriety happened. Like, Lindsey Graham was like, you could... So when it was Bill Clinton, Lindsey Graham was like, let's impeach. Lindsey Graham is Trump's buddy now. And again, I can go back to 3 years ago, when he said, if we nominate Trump, we will pay for it and we will deserve it. Like, yeah, well, where is that Lindsey Graham to come talk to this Lindsey Graham? Where are the Republicans? Because checks and balances. Now this guy has committed several offenses that are impeachable. But Nancy Pelosi didn't want to do it. She didn't want to do it like so, quickly. Let's get all of the facts. So it took Nancy Pelosi a long time to get on board with impeachment. She's now on board with the impeachment inquiry, which means they will investigate all this stuff. And they can't stonewall Congress because it's an impeachment inquiry, and this stuff matters. Allegedly, they can't stonewall. We'll see what happens. But it's a fundamental choice, man. You got this going on. So you got Biden, Warren, and Sanders as your top three. Though, Harris top four. So, but this Ukraine scandal, you might say, oh, so how is this different from the Russia scandal? It's not. And what I mean by it's not different is, different things have happened, but this is the Russian collusion. This is the active measures. They're continuing. This isn't a second op. This is the op. This is what was happening. There was not, now Ukraine. No, this was the full circle plan. It's an op. The whole thing's an op. Russia hacks our elections. They do that by hacking the minds of independent voters. Those people that walk around as blank canvases and don't have feelings on anything. Those people. So they do that, and while they're doing that, remember that Paul Manafort, remember him? Remember Paul Manafort? He worked for the pro-Putin party in Ukraine. He worked for the corrupt people. The people that Republicans are falsely claiming that Joe Biden was over there with his son making money or something. Now, let's be clear. There was nothing. Joe Biden did nothing wrong in regards to the Ukraine. Into Ukraine. They would like us to stop using the. It's Ukraine. Joe Biden and his son Hunter did nothing improprietous having to do with Ukraine. They did not. There is not one figment of that story that is true. So what you're doing is, you're taking Ukraine and you're making this Hillary Clinton's emails. And that's what this is going to be. Because Trump thinks that Joe Biden is his biggest threat, because he thinks that people like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren can't win in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Now, I know Bernie Sanders can't. But I believe Elizabeth Warren is different. But it's another podcast for another. One day I wish I can talk about, presidential candidates and which one I want. But, I can't because there's so much corruption. So you remember during the Paul Manafort trial, he was working. He had a plea deal going, and he was working with Mueller. And then Mueller was like, "Yeah, we're out of the plea deal because he broke the rules." He was over there calling Ukraine, hooking this whole thing up. Well, it's running ops from prison now. And also, the guy the chief investigator of Joe Biden in Ukraine, you know what I'm saying? The guy, Rudy Giuliani, this guy has lost it. Somebody get this guy into hospice care quickly. Rudy Giuliani needs to be in assisted living. So Rudy Giuliani, from his personal office, and again, remember, he is not in the cabinet. He's not a government official. Rudy Giuliani is Trump's personal attorney. And he only got that job because Trump's personal attorney is currently busy being in prison for doing shit like this. So Rudy, I don't know if you read the last chapter, but the guy who if I went somewhere, if I got a job, right? And I said, "Oh, what happened to the guy I'm filling in for?" I'd be like, "Oh, he's in jail." I'd be like, "Okay, what did he do to get there, and what can I do differently to not get there?" Just trying to seek to understand how I cannot end up in prison. Rudy Giuliani's off the reservation, man. This guy's lost it. So he was calling up corrupt people in the Ukraine, corrupt prosecutors, getting pretend dirt that doesn't exist, doing his own investigations from his office. Bill Barr flies to Italy to meet with one of these guys. The Ukrainian envoy resigns. You froze military. Now, people would say, well, there was no quid pro quo. I said it in the open. There doesn't need to be. The question is the crime. If you, as an American elected official, ask another country for dirt on another elected official to help you with an election, that is called asking for something of value. That information is of value, and that is against the law. Asking the question. If the Ukraine president was like, nah, that's a dub, and hung up, it would still be a crime. And the double and tripling down. You're China, if you're listening. Are you joking? And you know what's even scarier? 6 months ago, Hillary Clinton was on Rachel Maddow, and she said that. She said, what in case Trump bans China? Come on, man. I didn't know Trump watches Rachel Maddow, but obviously got the idea from there. He said to China, the trade war with China, we can do things if you don't do that. Are you joking? And he's like, yeah, and what happened in China was way worse than what happened in Ukraine. It's just diarrhea of the mouth at this point. It's the word salad. Trump speak. It's the word salad. The nonsensical things that get said. And they want us to chase down as voters, as Americans, it is not our job to investigate these things. Okay? Congress is doing that. It's our job to make a promise to each other right now, if you haven't already, that we are going to vote for the Democrat. We are going to go out and vote. We are not going to sit home and assume that things are going to go one way. We are not going to sit home and think that our vote doesn't matter. We're not going to sit home for some convoluted reason where if less people vote, there'll be some sort of change in the way they draw the district maps and all that stuff. That's not a thing. Stop it. Stop trying to outthink the founding fathers. We vote, they investigate. That's how it works. Congress is going to do this investigation. They're going to do the inquiry. The inquiry should have nothing to do with how you feel about vote. There was protesters, 3, yelling at Elizabeth Warren the other day, "Stop the impeachment!" Again, I'll go back to 8th grade social studies. So the Senate does the trial. The Senate doesn't draw up the articles. So Elizabeth Warren literally has nothing to do with this impeachment inquiry so far. When it gets to the Senate, she'll have something to do with it. She has nothing to do with it now. It's not a thing. She can't stop it. Presidential candidates don't have power. They don't make laws, or they don't stop investigations or start them. They can't. They're just campaigns. So you have to ask yourself, do we really think that this is okay? And do we really want to set a precedent that this is going to be okay? Like, do we want the next like, listen, man. And I'll flip it. I'll give you the reverse. Let's just say you're a crazy diehard Republican right now, right? How confident are you that Republicans are going to win the presidency forever? Are you very confident? A little confident? Or not so confident? Or, you know what I'm saying? Because presidents are getting set here. So, like, if you want to let Trump run roughshod with executive orders on this and that and the third, cool. Cool story, bro. But when we get in power, you're going to cry, "Oh, executive orders. You can't do that." Well, you guys let it do it. You guys let it happen. You can't have it both ways. You can't impeach Bill Clinton for getting wops in the office, in the Oval Office. You can't do that, but then say, "Oh, you can't impeach Trump for committing actual high crimes and misdemeanors." And I saw a tweet the other day. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it was real. But Monica Lewinsky, you know what? I'm going to look for that right now. Monica Lewinsky had a funny tweet. If you guys don't follow Monica Lewinsky on Twitter, she's the one that gave Bill Clinton the wops in the office. But she actually has a very funny Twitter account, because since somebody asked her what is she famous for, and she's like, "I don't know, I'm in like every rap song you know." But it's mad funny, but so I thought that she had tweeted, it might have been fake. Okay, anyhow. So there was a story out that Monica Lewinsky, "I'll take one for the team." Like, you know, like in reference to... No, she did tweet it. She said she will take one for the team if it helps get Trump impeached. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. She'll take one for the team. Nah, but in all seriousness, objectifying women like that is not cool. And like, but she's somebody that was wrapped up in something like this and came back from it. She came back. And I think that if you are that focused on blindly defending Trump and letting him basically launder racism through Muslims and Mexicans, if you think that that's okay, then you're a racist and a bigot, and I don't want to talk to you. But since I have to talk to you, I would say, how confident are you that you are always going to win elections? Because you really need to be confident. This is some brazen shit going on right here. Like, for instance, Max Rose, my congressman, sat in New York District 11. Max Rose, my congressman, he's kind of a moderate. Not five white guys moderate, but didn't vote for Nancy Pelosi for speaker moderate. He came out for impeachment, for the inquiry. But it took him mad long. It took him longer than the rest of the Democrats because he needed to weigh his options, and he needed to look at, all right, these are the people that voted for me. What do they want? You know? And he eventually came to the conclusion that I have to support this because the people that support me, that don't support the impeachment inquiry, are partisan and only care about themselves, and they don't care about the rule of law or justice. It's like the people with the they'll have like Blue Lives Matter on their car, right? And then they get pulled over for a speeding ticket, and then they'll be like, why can't the cops just solve real crimes instead of bothering me? But were you breaking the law? Like, I love these people that break the law and then wonder why the cops are bothering them. Why bothering me? There's real crimes being committed. We're really on this road right now? Right in the view of this cop car that had the radar? I don't think so. And like, the text messages get released from the Ukrainian ambassador. It was an ambassador, the envoy, Kurt Volker. There's a bunch of text messages out. Anyway, so you see the text message conversation, and one of the guy is like, so are we saying that we're withholding military assistance for political campaign reasons? I think that's nuts. And the text message received later on was this the response to that, which was hours later, was a paragraph-long text that was most certainly written up by a lawyer or something, not implicating any, like, the cover-up, because these calls happened in August, July, August. We're getting it now. It's October. We're about to be a year out. We're 13 months out from this. If the signs, if you need more reason to get out and vote Democrat November 3rd, 2020, what are you even watching? What are you even doing? I don't know. I wish I knew. I wish there was a way I can figure out what is actually on your mind. Stupidity is more dangerous than being educated. It is more dangerous to be stupid with power than to be educated with power. Than to be educated without power. When you are somebody who controls the alleged greatest country in the world, you have to act. Not even, I want to say act with decency, act like a human being. Nah, bro, you need to do more than that. But the bare minimum would be being human. And we don't have that right now. This guy is an animal. These Republicans, they're animals. They're sick and twisted. And they deserve the political drubbing they get. And we gotta vote them out. November 3rd, 2020, a bunch of senators are up too. We gotta get them out. We need to have all three houses of government. All three. We need the executive branches. We need all three branches. We need the executive, we need the Senate, we need the House. Then we can actually pass some laws. But the only way that we can achieve those goals, those lofty goals, is to get out and vote on November 3rd, 2020. Vote blue no matter who. Vote blue to save America. Vote blue to end this nightmare. Because at the end of the day, if you had, it's a lot easier to vote somebody out than to remove somebody from office. It's a lot easier to do that. So, wherever the inquiry goes should not matter, because this guy has proved his inability to govern. And he's had long enough already to do that. And our country is already in a dangerous enough spot where we can't afford another extra second of this guy. And we need to get him out. And it is the most important thing going on in the next 13 months of your life. And I need you to get with me, and we will get together, and we will vote blue to save America, and we will end this freaking nightmare. Dyze in your house. Exclusively on Least Coast Radio.